Welcome everybody. This is my second, hopefully in a multi-part series of just talking to people around the community in a non-political way. We just want to get to know our neighbors and get to know those especially that have visibility, that are really doing things and helping. And today I'm extremely privileged, and I mean that, to have Eddie Colon. Eddie, thank you
You're
for
welcome.
coming out.
Thank you for
We're,
inviting.
we're sitting on the front porch. We thought it was going to rain, but it's a casual. It's good to be outside before. Here we are in the fall of 2024, and winter's on the way, so we got to be outside.
Oh.
You know? So Eddie, I'm just going to ask a couple of questions, just like how long. First of all, where did you move from before you came to Fishkill? Where were you
I
raised?
was on the Bronx
Yeah,
before I moved to Fishkill.
right.
I was raised on 138th Street between Cypress and St. Anne since 1964.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And then I moved up, kept moving. My parents kept moving left and right. Every year we moved somewhere else. But my last, before I moved to Fishkill, I lived in Cambridge and Grand Concourse, 2682 Creston Avenue for a long, long time.
Concourse. I've
In
been there.
Cambridge, by the Armory.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. I've been
And
there.
the VA section, all that section there.
Yeah.
When it was a real good area.
Yeah.
Now everything changes like anything else.
It's amazing. Puerto Rican area.
It's so mixed.
Yeah.
But when I first came in from Puerto Rico in 1964, 138th Street and between Cypress and St. Anne, the real South Bronx, it was a whole mix of neighbors. You have the Irish, the
Yeah.
Italians, the blacks, the Puerto Ricans. It was an era that everybody really got along.
That's
looked out
New
for each
York.
other. Yeah, it's
That's-
the melting pot.
That's what you loved about New York. It was the attraction when I came from Louisiana a bunch of years ago, pursuing acting
Yeah.
in the city, and I can't believe we lived in the city for like 17 years or so. Max was born there, and it's part of the attraction, which is all the different nationalities, the food, the people.
And it was it was great. Everybody look out for each other. The parents, all the parents look out for the parents. And I always said I would never move out of the Bronx. I would never leave the Bronx
Yeah.
because that's my first stomping ground.
Yeah.
And then when I got sick and my daughter moved me from the Bronx to Fishkill, I remember she got me an apartment at 304 Jefferson Boulevard.
Mm.
And there used at that time was the Jefferson Apartments, and I remember because I was ill. I was coming out from an illness,
Mm.
and she said, "You're not gonna go back to the Bronx anymore. You're gonna live up here, and my brother and I are gonna take care of you." So my son was at the Air Force at the time. He was at the Andrews Air Force Base in Washington,
Mm.
and he flew down here, and they moved me from a fifth floor apartment. Most beautiful apartment I had. I had 5 bedrooms, 3
Wow.
sleeping bedroom with
Wow.
French doors at the top floor, and I was living there like a king.
I bet you were.
And the rent was like, so when I told my landlord that I would live there for over 20 years, and when I told my landlord that I was going to break the lease, and the landlord says, "No problem, Mr. Colon.
Yeah.
When are you moving?" I said, "Well, hopefully by the end of the week." I said, "You want, I will mail you the security. I'll bring it to you by the end of the week." And I started thinking, I said, "Well, this guy really wanted me out of here." I started saying, "Ka-ching, ka-ching."
Exactly. He wanted that sucker going to market value.
Yeah, so
Was that rent controlled?
yeah, but I wasn't rent control though
Okay.
at that time, and I was in the building so long. When I first moved inside there, I was paying like $600. So now the apartment, I bet the apartment is going like close to $3,000.
Easy.
Yeah, and I remember I moved to 304 Jefferson. The first night that I slept there, I slept, and next thing you know, I got up around 12 o'clock. It's because the fire alarm went on. And I said, "Wait a minute." I went outside and they were testing the alarms. And I asked the guy, "What time is it?" And the guy says, "It's 12 o'clock. I said, "I slept all night and half a day."
Wow.
And because when you live in the Bronx, the way you go to sleep is you know, the siren, the shots,
Sure.
and this and that. And here, the only
Yeah.
thing I heard was the birds.
And
And then I says, wow. And I thought I was not gonna get used to it. But then, I stood there about a year because the rent was at that time, 2000 2008. The rent was high at that time. I remember I was paying like $1,300.
wow.
That's the rent, basic rent, without even the
Utilities
and this, and you pay for garbage, and you still got to dispose your garbage yourself. So I said, no, I can't, because at that time I was still ill and I was fighting for my disability.
Mm.
And so I said, let me just take a break from it, and I'm moving in with my daughter. And she lived in Wicopee on Thistle Avenue, Thistle Street, Thistle Lane. And I stood there for about 3 months. And then I was going around looking for apartments. And I learned one thing through the police department, that the best way to find a good area is you go to your local police precinct and find out how many calls did you have going to this community and this community. And then I came out to a police officer from the village, and I asked him, I said, hey, how's the this up here? And he said, this section here, we don't play around, we take care. So I said, well, let me go put an application. And I put an application, did a tour around, and I said, this is what I want to live. And then there was an apartment, which I am the second tenant in that apartment.
Wow.
The person that lived there for 35 years. And he passed away, and I moved in that apartment. As soon as I walked in, and I went to see the apartment across the street, across the hall, which the tenant in there lived, the tenant was moving in from Taylor to there, and she was going to be the second tenant in there too. So both apartments, they were repairing at the same time. And when I went inside that apartment and I saw all that light, that light without no electricity, just the sunlight coming through, and the cool air, the breeze coming from the woods, I said, this is it.
It's got to be it.
This is it. This is where I'm gonna come. So I put she said, well, you have to leave a I left a $500 deposit, and she said, well, it's not gonna be ready until a month.
What year was this?
This was 2000, and at that time was 2011.
Okay.
2010, 2011.
Yeah.
And she said, so every day I will come there to see what was the progress. There was no progress at all, and it was frustrating because I didn't want to stay with my daughter. I left my house. I come from a family of 12.
I was just going to ask you, like, everyone came from Puerto Rico,
Yes.
and so 12.
Yeah, my
You all
stepfa-
live close
yes.
together in the
Yeah,
Bronx.
yeah. My stepfather came first in 1960. He came in 1963. Then at the end of 1963, coming to 64, we came in. I have come prior to that, the year before. I came with an uncle of mine to first time to New York. I came from school vacation. I lived in the village.
How old were you then?
Oh, I was about 8.
Oh.
About 8.
Really? Okay.
And then I went back home, and then that's how they decided to sell the house in Puerto Rico and move up here. So it's funny because then my stepfather came in first looking for work. So my stepfather was a man of color, of a Puerto Rican national ethnic background.
Yeah.
And his families, they were from Loíza Aldea, and the family was a tradition through family from the slave time. So he taught me how to do the respect. He said, you never call a person you call the person sir or ma'am. You always the respect. Respect the elders so they could respect you. You respect everybody to respect you. So he came up here, and the first job he got was at 2270, I remember, 2270 Washington Avenue. And when we came in, first time I saw snow. And at that time it was the Eastern Airlines, Trans-Caribbean, Panama, Pan Am and all that. And it was a 3 or 3.5 hours from Puerto Rico to New York, the trip. So the snow and all. And so he was the superintendent there. And he was the only superintendent that would shovel snow and a wife beater. That's the only, you never see this man with all coats and everything. No, he's short sleeve and he's out there, the wife beater shoveling snow.
Wow.
The only man that I know that could take us, they used to take baths with cold water. That was his thing.
That seems to be a thing these days for people to take a cold bath.
Yeah, and he was.
I can't do that.
No, but again, in Puerto Rico, if you were unfortunate, the only thing you have is you don't have no water heaters or nothing.
Gotcha.
There's only one water.
Yeah.
And that's whatever comes.
What comes through?
What comes through, and
The pipe.
And unless you live on an area where you're ritzy and you can afford a water heater, and then they still
Amazing.
because you still got to look at that tab of the water because it's very expensive.
What town in Puerto Rico were you from?
Cataño. It was close to the it's what you call by the Bacardi thing,
Yeah,
and what you
yeah.
call the ferry, right around the ferry that takes you to San Juan.
Do you have any memories of Puerto Rico?
Oh yeah, I still remember when I used to live at 114 Calle de Sendero.
You have specific memories
Oh,
about
yeah.
addresses, don't you?
You see, that's me. And so when we came up here, and then from there, there was a separation between my mom's and my stepfather. So we moved to 138th Street. And all of us, they used to call my mother the hen with the little chickens, because there was a ladder, all of us, and there was 12 of us.
That's a lot.
And we lived all the way there. The 12 of us lived together until little by little people started departing to other places. And so my sister went back to Puerto Rico, got married back over there. My brother stood here and we went back and forth. So I stood here, I stood studying, and then
You worked were you in the postal service? Or?
at first I came in and I went into the police department. My first job.
You were? Okay, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
my first job, I remember working for, I was like 15 years old, and we used to live at 614 East 138th Street, all the way in the top. My mother never found a first floor apartment. She said I has to live like the birds, all the way in the top branch, so I could see everything.
Oh, so that was a choice.
Choice or whatever. Yeah, because a big family. There were no apartments, big apartments on the first floor.
Oh.
They told you
All the chickens went to the top.
To the top, right? Exactly. And I remember, going to Benjamin Franklin High School, and that was my alma mater on 116th Street. So in the summertime, I got a job at the Master Set Brush Incorporation company. It was a brush factory.
Oh.
In the Bronx. Okay. And across the street.
Clothing brush or hair?
No, painting brush. One of the biggest manufacturer in the Bronx, and he also has a big branch, a big company in Milwaukee. They were partners.
I was just going to say, if it was a hairbrush, you were a little vigorous with it.
And across the street was the famous Everlast equipment that they build. They make boxing gloves.
Of course. In my mind, I'm like, I know that, but that's it.
Yeah,
you can see that tag on the glove.
Yes, and you saw a lot of famous boxers going to there. And
did you?
Yeah, so I remember, and I was making $1.05 an hour at that time.
At 15?
At 15.
At about what year was that?
Oh.
60s?
Yeah.
In the 60s?
No, it's late, going late 60s.
Okay.
And then after that, I became a...
But you were making money, so it must have felt good.
Yeah, but by making money, it was good because you still have to share money in the house.
Sure.
Because my mother made her living in ironing clothes. She was the best ironer there was. She had that old-fashioned iron that when she would iron, nobody just kept mommy cool. Whatever mommy wants, mommy gets.
She was working.
Oh no! Not only she was working, because if you push her, you're gonna feel that iron. That's a cast iron. That's
She put it on the stove or something?
Yeah, and the stove with the plate there, and remember, and I can remember sometimes she would load it with coal and everything.
Oh my gosh.
And then she used to boil.
Wow.
She used to boil the starch, and then she used to boil and this thing bubbling in a big pot like you were making soup. And then she would strain that out and she would put some water in the mouth and that's how she used to iron.
That's amazing.
And she used
Those shirts and sheets must have been like
shirts, sheets,
crisp.
pants. So a lot of people were, and then at that time, at that era, we also had the Chinese laundries. And you go there and you get iron, and then you pick it up in your little bags, ripped up, and so we did a lot of that. We never went hungry. My mother was a public assistant. We grew up in that. We ate whatever was given to us on the table. Respect was there all the time.
Can I ask you? Because you're into something very sensitive and important. But who else in your family, along with your mom and you, were working to bring money into the house?
Oh, they did because
everybody.
No, because I was one of the third oldest.
Oh, okay.
So my brother have gone to his own way. He was not. He didn't take the right path, so he went different ways. So he got into a lot of trouble. So he was a little away for a little while, then come back, and then my sister was in Puerto Rico, and the rest of my siblings they were still young.
Okay, oh, I see.
So
you had a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, so I helped my mother all the time, and then I left my house when I was like 15. My brother had an apartment. He says, hey, I was still going to school and working, so he was paying for the apartment, and I wanted to be on my own, independent. So, but I still contribute to the house.
Yeah.
So.
So you were still in the Bronx.
Yeah, all the time was on the Bronx.
You're not far from them.
No, because it was a time that my mother decided to move from 138th Street, but I still went back to 138th Street. That was my stamping ground. So she could have moved like 3 or 4 miles away, but I was still getting to my bike and go into my stamping ground. Yeah. So back in 1970, I got involved with the community back in 70, 71. And,
in the Bronx?
In the Bronx. And
doing what?
Across the street was a church, St. Luke Church, 623 East 138th Street. And a friend of mine just finished coming from Vietnam. So in Puerto Rico, I was on a cadet corps when I was young.
Wow.
And then when I came to New York, and I started looking around, and I said, oh, there's a cadet corps. So I joined, and then when they dispersed, so we went, and I left it alone. So this guy comes down, and he saw me with some combat boots and a lieutenant bar, a second lieutenant bar in my collar, and he says, what do you do? I said, no, I used to be in the cadet corps. So he told me, gave me some commands, and he said, I'm opening a cadet corps, and I want you to be with me. So before he went to Vietnam, he was in the cadet corps. So when he went to book training, everything made easy for him because he was trained by other soldiers that were there, World War II, World War I, and all that. A lot of veterans in that neighborhood. And so we opened a cadet corps on 138th Street. It was called St. Louis Cadets. And through there, I got involved in the community. We had over 100 kids.
What did you do in the cadet corps?
Oh, we
because you're opening up where I want to go with you too, because
yeah.
everybody knows you in Fishkill.
Yeah.
But you did. What was your responsibility?
I started as a lieutenant. So the whole.
So they gave you a rank within that.
Yeah. That way, you think of you being on the armed services, armed forces.
Sure.
And my unit was the Rangers, and they had the guerrillas, they had the Panthers, everybody, and there was all different branches. So you like the Navy, you go to the Navy, and everybody that ran higher up, they were all veterans, Vietnam veterans, and a lot of them were good. So
was this keeping kids out of trouble?
Oh, this where we're going. So now, the idea of that was because to recruit, we had to go out and recruit. So the idea to this was because there was at that time it was a big heroin era. A lot of drugs, a lot of pots. Marijuana was not too dangerous. It was heroin. a lot of overdoses, and Bronx was burning, you know. And so our idea was to take those kids and keep them with us.
Mm.
So we opened the cadet court at 9 o'clock in the morning, all the way to 5.
Wow.
So we all going by the word spread around that we run in the cadet court. Brian, the line of parents, especially the mothers,
Oh Lord.
were from here all the way to the town hall.
Wow.
It said, this is true from 9 to 5? I said, yes. He's yours. He's yours. I said, well,
Because these are single moms, maybe,
single parents, and
You know.
because they work.
and they're worried.
And they figure, wow, I found me a babysitter.
Sure. Well, there's that.
Free.
Oh.
Free because, you know,
Who paid for this then?
when we used to collect dues.
Okay.
So the cadet corps was given to us the opportunity through the priest, Father Ryan, Gerald Ryan. He passed away. It was Monsignor. It was anything that had to do with the community and anything that will help the community. And we used to have other programs through the church, which is more adult program. It was called rap section on Wednesdays, where the priest will come and all the neighbors, the gangs. At that time there was plenty of gangs on the Bronx at that time.
Mm-hmm.
They will come in and we'll discuss topics. You know, everything that came into your mind. It was a free for all. It was not a confession. It's just
A major safe space.
right. So you go there and it used to get crowded. It used to get like 50, 60 people.
That's kind of a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
there.
it was so.
Were you leading the conversation?
Everybody will lead the
Yeah.
conversation.
Okay.
You'll come up with a topic, and then I remember there was a heavy topic. Everybody was like, and even the priest was real shocked. It was when The Exorcist came out.
Oh Lord.
Oh,
That scared me so much.
that came out. So
It still scares me.
yeah. So going back into the cadet corps, so our job was to we used to teach the kids a lot. We used to teach them about the army, the armed forces. We also taught if you had a problem in school, you have a problem with math, you have a problem with social studies, we help you.
So how much are you involved? I mean, when kids started coming, you know, and you have them for the day, you know, then you get into their lives a lot more, and then you see they may need clothes, they may need food, they may need medical, they may need.
Yeah, what happened? The thing we wanted.
This is a major responsibility.
Yeah, well, the thing that we wanted from the parent was, we'll take care of your kid, but you supply the uniform, you know. So we used to have this store called 116th Street on First Avenue. It's called Cheap Charlie. It was all Army surplus.
Wow.
So we used to sell them there, and he was delighted because
He loved it.
He loved it because you get a pair of pants. It was reused clothes, and everybody loved it because they was already mold already, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Got broken in.
Yeah, broken in and everything, and so everybody has so that's the only thing that they had to do and pay their dues. Their dues were like $1.50. The officers was $1.50 for the kids, and then we had what you call.
Is that a week or a month or?
Every week. Every week you come in every Saturday, you know.
That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, back in the days, and then we have what you call a parents association. In there, we make sure that there was an association with the parents, and once a month they will make meetings and they'll come in and they give them an up to date how everything was done and stuff like that. And we used to cook in there.
Wow.
We used to cook for lunch. We used to make them hamburgers.
Yeah.
The greasy hamburger where you don't find them no more. You know.
I can smell it.
Yeah.
I love those. Those are the best.
When you see the grease on top of the bread, so that's
a
so.
beautiful thing.
So it's from there on. We moved on, and I started growing up.
You moved on.
Yeah, I moved on in 1973 when I went into the police academy. But I still used to come back and forth. But my time was more in there.
Sure.
And then
and you were a cop in the
and,
city?
Yeah, in the city. And then in 1970,
What was your precinct?
I did. First, I went to the 108 precinct in Queens,
Okay.
in Vernon and Jackson, in Long Island City. And then they transferred me because I couldn't deal with it over there. I went to the 408 precinct.
What was wrong with 108?
It was too much. There weren't too many. I say the precinct where I was at, it was more. There weren't too many minorities in there.
I was wondering if you were going to say that. So, were you confronted with a bit of racism? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, at that now I'm on
Community precincts?
no, just not a community. Within the precinct.
Isn't that something? Okay.
Yeah, at that time it was a Serpico era. So not when somebody comes in here from the police academy, they're not even gonna trust you, look at you, smile at you, even invite you for a beer.
Wow.
So, and then at that time it came in with a beam era where the city, Ford says New York dropped there because so they came on the layoffs.
So you went from the Queens to where?
To the 4A precinct in the Bronx, 450 Cross Brown Expressway.
About what year is this?
That would have been 74.
Do you remember your precinct commander?
In there it was Captain Kelly and
Irish?
yeah,
But he was good?
yeah. But you see, but that precinct there was a whole. It was a big because everything is Hispanic in the community. It's a mix.
I got it.
It's mixed. So from then we got laid off, and I says, okay. And then they transfer us to instead of giving us layoff, they gave us a choice. You could go to housing. So I went to Housing Preservation and Development.
Okay.
It was HPD.
Yeah.
So HPD was we used to take the buildings when you failed your taxes, we repossess your building. So the city became the owner of your property. So at that time we used to call them the slumlords because they didn't pay the taxes.
There must have been a lot of that going on.
Oh, the whole Bronx.
Because that was a bad era.
Yeah,
for the city.
but after a while,
Yeah.
the city become the slumlords. But because
You can't keep up with the volume.
right, and people, and the only time that people would retrieve their houses, the property, if they want to have little houses and homes and stuff like that. So they didn't want to do that.
Right.
So I became well known in there because I got real close to the area director. Yeah, his name is Dave Rubenowitz, and
Wow.
and everybody used to call me. They used to say, "He's your daddy. He's your daddy," because I was attached to him, and he didn't like to be there after 5 because he was in a rough neighborhood. We were on Tremont Avenue and Grand Concourse. It used to be a funeral parlor in that building that we used to live at, where we used to work, and he didn't like to be there at nighttime. So I stayed with him to 6, and so we accumulated a lot of time and everything. So through him, I got to learn. I got to know a lot of people. I got to know
In the neighborhood again.
in the neighborhood and into the political field.
Political field.
Yes, I got to meet commissioners,
Mm-hmm.
mayors, deputy mayors, and I went to a lot. He took me to a lot of. He opened a lot of doors for me.
Yeah.
And,
I understand that kind of network.
yeah,
And that's good.
yeah, and then he put me. I became his special assistant.
Good.
So every time there was a meritorious increase, he would give me a meritorious increase.
Isn't that interesting?
So then I
Okay.
took I was a real property manager at that time. That's what they used to call them, and I was an assistant.
But
And then,
clearly you earned that
oh yeah,
by doing extra work,
Yeah.
being there.
yeah.
And then when you get plugged in like that, it's at another level.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then there was they came out with a special program. It was called the CIP, Capital Improvement Program,
Mm.
and I got involved in that. They give you like $1 million, and they say, hey, I want you to pick a building, and let's renovate this building. Let's see what to improve this building, capital improvement. But you don't manage the money though.
Yeah.
No, you don't manage the money. You only manage the paperwork.
Okay.
And you.
That keeps it honest, hopefully.
Yeah, well, something. But before you're gonna nail on that wall, you gotta go through all this red tape.
The bidding process.
Yeah, not only the bidding process, because now you gotta call this guy and then this guy and then this guy, and then they'll come back to you and say, okay, yeah, go put the nail.
Government.
Yeah.
You gotta love government. So how long were you in that?
Oh, so I went in there.
Now,
So-
were you still with the housing preservation?
Yeah.
And so you're still on that payroll.
Yeah,
You haven't gone to.
no.
Okay.
Well, they
Yeah.
moved my pension and payroll and
Okay.
that.
All right.
And then there was two things that I was a kid that I need dreams to fulfill. And one dream was to become a police officer. So when I got laid off, I said, okay,
Mm-hmm.
it was fulfilled. And then the other one to become a mailman. And why? Because in Puerto Rico, I used to see the mailman with the whistle, the helmet, and the short pants and the long socks. I says, one day, I want to become a mailman. So I was sitting in my office and I saw the mailman, the same vision. And I said, wow. I said, I took the test. So when I go home that day, I found a letter from the United States Postal Service that I have passed the test and they wanted me for a career position. So I went there. But before I go back to, so I went in there and then I said, okay, became a mailman. I started on 125th Street in Manhattanville, St. Nicholas. And that covered Columbia University.
You know what? I think the first time that I met you was we had this kind of conversation when you were a mailman in the city, and you told me some interesting stories. We won't go into that now. We're not going to go into that now. But we were doing you were doing a fundraiser for a food drive for the food pantry
At the town hall.
at town hall.
At the circle.
And in the circle, and I was hanging out with you for the first time, and you were telling these wild stories. I'm like, what kind of life has this guy had, you know?
but going back to the cadet corps, the thing that I feel proud,
Sure.
and I still see my friend, and we just finished having 2 years ago. We finished having a 47-year reunion, and to see
For that cadet corps?
Yeah.
Really?
to see the cadet corps doesn't exist anymore.
Sure.
But we get it called. There's 12 of us that get along, that we communicate, and we were like in a group. It was a unit, and it was called the Panthers, and we still carry that
That's
name, and we follow up on each other.
That's
So-
an amazing bond.
Yeah, it is. It is a bond, and so a couple of years ago we had our 47 years reunion in the Bronx, and to see the kids that you taught and tell you what have become of their life. I have one guy.
As a direct result.
Yeah, I said director of my friend and I, and as a matter of fact, my friend was getting a big award, and he says, "I don't deserve this award. Give it to Eddie Colon."
Oh.
And I says, "No, I don't want it. I don't want it because through you started. I follow you." He said, "Yeah, but we were the tops, and you were my right hand." Yes, and I'm still your right hand, but keep it. And to hear stories of one guy, he says, I give you guys thanks because he became the first Hispanic chief of police in San Diego.
And you have that direct
Yeah,
connection
yeah. His name,
when he was a kid
Yep.
that came into your
The cadet.
cadet. Oh my God.
His name was Mike Rosario, and it was on TV. They did an interview. And then I had one guy.
How proud are you?
Oh, my hair stand up. Then I have another guy that he was a Secret Service for the President of the United States
Oh my God.
that year.
Oh my God.
And I told him, you take the bullet for the Democrat, the Republican says Secret Service have no parties. The bullet,
Not supposed to.
the bullet is bullet. And then the other guy was a guy on the CIA. He was a spook.
And that's other.
There was other people.
These are high achievers.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
if that group didn't exist, the streets would have eaten them up.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah, and then there was another guy that he was a contractor. There was another guy that was a big investigator of the Pentagon. All these people went and made the armed forces their career, and then from there on they started moving.
It's because you guys did that and the parents knew this is a way that
Yeah.
I can go to work, but my kid,
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about. Look at that.
Yeah, but when we used to go camping for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday
With the cadets?
with the cadets.
Wow, that's great.
Let me tell you something. We used to have army packs and everything ration, and with, you can't take a cooked chicken like you do now. You just Chef Boyardee and all that, and somebody brings something, you exchange. Hey, we
Yeah,
got this.
sure.
And when we used to tell the parents, okay, October 1st, Friday, October 1st, so we going camping, we're going to come back the 3rd by 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because we know the kids have to go to school, unless it was in the summertime.
You guys catch a bus in the Bronx?
No,
and
no,
go
no,
out
no,
to-
no, 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 no. You do like a real soldier. You will walk to the train station,
Okay.
catch
all
number
right.
train station, no, catch number 6 to 125th Street,
Okay.
take the number 4 to Woodland,
Okay.
Van Cortlandt Park. Those are camping ground.
Ah! That's,
Wow, in the wood,
that's Bronx camping right there.
Bro.
I got you.
Yeah, and
But you did it.
Yeah, and your tent will build out of your poncho.
Oh, okay.
So you make and
That's cool.
So the parents used to say, well, and this is the list, so and say, don't pack because we will pack for you. Bring the stuff. And then people say, oh, what can I pack? No, because we want what we put you on the list. That's what you're gonna carry there, because you're gonna carry your own weight.
Yeah.
We're not gonna carry your weight. So some parents used to give them hamburgers and hamburger. You can't bring. There's no refrigerator on camping,
Right,
So
right.
so we used to throw a lot of stuff out. But the parents loved it. They saw that Thursday, that Friday morning, everybody has excuses, notes, and all that after the school. And at 12 o'clock, the parents were in front of the St. Luke Church, and
They had a free weekend.
oh my God! I mean,
Yeah.
when they used to drop them on Saturday, Brian, and you see the parents all messed up, the females, but when you could see them on Saturday afternoon, you say, "Whoa, somebody worked some miracles in here,"
Wow.
because they were good. And the thing is that because we were a cadet corps and we were in a Catholic church, it was mandatory for you to attend mass.
Oh. So that was mandatory. They gave you the space.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
they
up front. Yeah.
And they said you. But
Yeah.
you.
At 10, it was
Yeah.
a 10 o'clock mass.
Got it, yeah.
It was a 10 o'clock mass.
That's
and,
beautiful.
And once a month we will go in uniform.
Mhm.
And
Good.
we participated in a lot of parades. So when the parents used to go and they used to come back, the kids used to come back, they're all tired up. I mean, we went camping in rain, in snow, and in sleet, and we learned a lot of stuff about combat.
Yeah.
So we used to participate against other cadet corps
Did you really?
around the whole tri-state area, and we will come in and have a meeting in all places. We have people from the Bronx. We have people from. There was a big cadet corps. It was called JT Cadet Corps in El Barrio, and down Manhattan, and he controlled the whole 116 from 103rd Street all the way to 125th Street, the whole Spanish Harlem.
Wow.
He had a big cadet corps.
That's
he
huge.
had
Huge.
big, lot of Vietnam veterans. Oh,
During that era.
yeah. He had, I say, officers.
Did the veterans come back and want to do this so they?
Oh, yeah,
No one discussed PTSD post.
no, not that time. The guy that ran my cadet corps with me, he had a grenade explode almost in front of his face there, and he had the powder, so he was blind for a little while.
Oh,
and he
boy.
recovered. And
So-
he was still getting his flashbacks and stuff like that. So you know, but so we used to have war games,
Wow.
and we will keep score and see at the end who gets the biggest trophy. So we had all these. We used to have one meeting once on a while. We come in and everybody walks in there. General, 5-star general. People were like, my guy was like a 1-star general, so he thought it was patent and black helmet. Oh my God! I mean, this is
It was quite impressive.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
kids loved that.
Yeah, sure
And
they
the
did.
kids loved it.
And they belonged.
Yeah,
And
and
it was positive.
Oh,
and it was
yeah.
quality. So
Yeah.
let me just say, what I sense in you, what I'm getting from you, is a long line of being involved, caring,
Oh yeah.
generating some great skills, not only being a police officer, but also in the housing
Yeah.
thing that you did and all that networking. And then so somehow you come here to Fishkill because your daughter says you're going to Fishkill.
That's what they told me. He says, well, you said
You
you
go
can't
to
go up to the
Fishkill.
fourth, you can't walk to the
Yeah.
fifth floor no more.
Yeah. So you come to Fishkill with all this energy, all this background, all this everything else, and somehow you get involved in the community and you're involved with the food pantry. And I can tell because your background, you were young and you were helping to support your family and your siblings with eating and paying bills at an early age. But somehow the cadet thing you did in the
Yeah.
Bronx and everything else, and then you plug all that into here, and you have this continuous energy every time anyone's around you, and I'm around you. It's like there's Eddie, just boom, boom, boom. He's here, he's there. So how do you get involved with the food pantry? How did that happen?
The things I you know, the first before I even got involved in the police department, I lived right here in Old Post Mall, and there were a lot of elderly when I first came in there, in 2010 when I came in there, and so I started working in the community, you know, just not to get too involved, and I started going to St. Mary's Church, and I used to see the food pantry truck there all the time.
Right.
And I said, one day, you know, it's just got to be the right time. So before that, there was this lady. She was a 96-year-old lady, and she was very ill, and she called me, and I said, "What's wrong, Ruth?" And she says, "I'm okay. I called the hospital." What's her name, Ruth? Or what? Anyway, so we called, and then I called the hospital. They took her to the hospital, and that's when I met the responding officer with the ambulance was Sergeant Wood at that time, Craig Wood. So we started talking, and he said, "Well, I'm from the Bronx." I said, "Oh yeah." I said, "Where did your brother live?" So he told me it was a 5-2. And I said, "Oh wow." I said, "Well, you know, I met from the area, so we knew people
Sure.
from so you know,
Immediate.
yeah, so little cops stories." And then he says, "Hey, how about you helping me do a presentation on fraud?" So I said, "That sounds good."
So Craig Wood,
Yeah. So Craig Wood opened.
who's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a Lieutenant Wood now.
I know he is. I
I
talk to him regularly.
yeah.
So
To him, and I says, "Hey, that sounds great. That sounds good." So, and at that time, it was a run of you guys. I think you and Foreman, John Foreman, came into the stage. Who was before? Yeah.
Are you talking about what? Running
Yeah.
for office?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which we're not getting political. So
Yeah. No. At that time, right.
So
At that
it
time,
was Carmine, John, and me.
right, the
Yeah.
three of you.
Yeah.
So, so we went, and I worked around with Chief Dorkin. It was the
Yeah.
first time he
Right.
met me. The first time the chief met me was in the election of the first presidential Trump election and stuff like that.
Okay.
So he came downstairs because it was a big crowd there, and as you know, I'm a chief inspector there.
So
So
town hall,
Yeah, the town,
where you work in the
yeah,
election,
and he come down, he gave
where
me,
everybody sees
yeah,
you.
yeah. So he came down, he gave me his number. He says, "Anything you need, you let me know."
Yeah.
So from there, I started getting in a lot of involvement with the police department. I was part of the police reform.
Interesting.
It-
Okay.
Okay, and
You were on
yeah,
that committee.
yeah, I was on that committee, and then I came into the CPU committee when you guys came in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so Lieutenant Wood and Craig and I together.
CPU's comprehensive plan, which
Board.
gives a governing booklet on how development and housing and just anything is going to go
Right.
on, and preservation of green spaces and
Yeah.
parks and all kinds of things. And the CPU is the comprehensive plan update.
Yeah.
And that was just for people who don't know, and that was a very important piece. And
Yeah.
so it was now Lieutenant Wood
Not right.
who
So
plugged you in,
Yeah,
and
so-
then Chief Dworkin who
Right,
came down, and then you
so-
just because you naturally love getting involved
Yeah.
anyway.
So what
that was
happened
your
was,
entree.
yeah. So what happened was that I said, well, let's see if we could pull this off.
Mm-hmm.
So it was on a Saturday, and I went all over. All over. So listen, put in flyers, and I spoke to a lot of community, and so Kathy Martin
Ah,
gave us the green light to have the town hall, and I remember,
in the village.
yeah, and I remember before we did that, I remember you, and I remember John Foreman when we had that you guys came into the food pantry, and with Mrs. New York.
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's
yeah,
when
yeah.
we first started going.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, and John says, can I get in with the CPU? I mean, with the this thing you're going to do for fraud. I said, sure. I mean, it's all, you know,
Sure.
it's not political because you know
Sure.
everything that I do is not everything for the community is not political.
I know, and everybody needs to know that, and that's what we love about
Yeah.
him. We just he's doing positive things for the village and town.
Yeah. So what happens? We combine both police departments together. The whole idea to this was to get the surrounding police departments all at once. Wappingers, Beacon, East Fishkill, and the town and village of Fishkill all in one into this. But I'm glad that not everybody showed up because there will be no space, and we did a full house there. So then I said, oh, that's great. We'll try something else sometime. So that following Sunday, I went to church, and I saw Sue Doyle, very good friend.
Right.
She from the food pantry, and I said, well, they're giving coffee and donuts today. She said, no, this was from the food pantry, you know, that we keep it here, and I said, yeah, about that. How I knew about the food pantry because we used it for a friend of ours that, unfortunately, the children, Christmas Eve, ripped her off completely. They took her money. They wiped her savings from her bank account,
Oh
an
my
empty
God.
bank of $100,000, and I mean,
Not
it's all
only is
thing.
that evil,
Yeah.
it's her kids that
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah,
And on Christmas
yeah,
Eve.
Yeah, and that was her birthday. So we made a collection. We gave her money to keep feeding in. You know,
Wow.
I chipped in. I got everybody together. Everything. It's her birthday. She's elderly. She's like 70 years old, and it's a crime. So then my
In many
girlfriend,
ways,
yeah,
a crime.
my girlfriend, Dee, she's a person of a lot, very knowledgeable and able to help everybody. So she through social service and stuff that we got her through the food pantry, which I knew was there, but I wasn't too interested. I guess you just can't get up in the morning and say, oh, today I'm going to work in the food pantry. No, it has to be like a calling,
Yeah.
something. So I asked her, and she
That's a
said,
very interesting
Yeah.
thing you just said.
yeah, it's not something
It runs
that,
deep with
yeah.
you.
yeah, it's not
Yeah,
easy to
no.
say, oh, today I'm going to become a councilman.
Sure.
But you just, those are the words.
It's just
But-
internal.
Right.
Yeah.
So I asked her. She said, "Well, listen, give me your number and I have a call." And she says, "Are you bilingual? Are you Spanish?" I says, "What are you kidding me with this accent?"
No, he's German.
Yeah. She says, "We are in need of a Spanish speaker because we don't have none at all." I says, "It seems like I'm the only Hispanic right here in the town of Fishkill." I says, "When I went into the board of election, there was no Spanish people at all.
Mhm.
I mean, they started a program which we call the bilingual, coordinator, which I told them, throw this out the window because it's a waste of money. Because, we were not ready for that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so she says, okay, so within the next day, Christine Cullen, the director, calls me.
Isn't that amazing?
And so we started talking, and
Somebody told
Sue
her.
told her, because she's the director and Sue is the
Oh,
coordinator. She said, "Listen, this is a list of volunteers. This guy wants to volunteer." So she called me, and we did over the phone interview, and she says, "Oh, my husband just retired from a police sergeant in Westchester for 32 years." So I said, "So I'm trying to picture, because I'm trying to find the name and the face." So, little behold, I see Kristen, and we were talking about John Jay, and I said, "Yeah, my grandkids, they're number one in John Jay in wrestling because they are number one, and that's a true fact. One of them is going to a Hall of Fame pretty soon,
Isn't that
or
amazing?
college,
Wow.
and he broke boundaries. He was the first alumni in Johnson and Wales University in history that ever brought in a two-time championship NCAA, and also the first time to bring a team trophy into their athletic department.
Amazing.
And he was supposed to go to the Olympics, but 2021 stroke. So now he's in line for the Hall of Fame. And his brother is state champ. So in Dutchess County, the obvious, nobody has broken the record. So we started talking, and then all of a sudden I mentioned my son. He says, so then I said, now I know you. So she says, you Erica's father? I said, yes. You Jason? I said, yes. So then I said, now I know you. She used to sit, her husband used to sit here. I could still picture him sitting down with his glasses on and eyes, like a regular police officer. You start moving around. And that's how it became. So I went to the food pantry. I said, I'm only going to work one day, Tuesday. So when I went there that Tuesday, they gave me a walk tour, and I started seeing things, and I'm saying, wow, this is not what I pictured. It's more to be involved. And as I was walking through it more, it was like a magnet, a magnetic field that was dragging me into it. So I said, wow. So the following week,
was it in the space that it's now?
Yeah,
Okay.
always that.
Okay.
And then pretty soon the food pantry is going to celebrate 47 or 49 years in there. So we're gonna make a celebration. So what happened was, then I met Nancy, which she was a team leader at the time, and she was a nutritionist. So she told me about the meats, the refrigeration and stuff like that, and what they want me to do. So I said, it's okay. Right. So I started going around, and I said, hey. So there was one Sunday that day was in Stoneville Market. They said, you got to go over there, so volunteer for 12 o'clock. My first time I volunteered. And it was in July, and it was hot.
Sure.
Hot. And I saw Christian over there. It was like 12 o'clock, and I saw Nancy Metz, another volunteer there, and they had a jar collecting money, and they had water. And in the middle, people all over, Brian. All over. And I'm saying, but they didn't have that kind of mechanism, to just say. It was more like they were ashamed to ask. And to me, I think it was the first time going out there.
So you mean the people were ashamed to ask for food, or
no, the
pantry?
The pantry was afraid, like going out there,
seek contributions.
Yes,
so. But then comes Eddie.
Yeah, then I say, well.
And now what do we got going on, brother?
So now I go over there, and I say, well, it's like only a couple of bucks in here. So it was 12 o'clock. I said, so they closed at 4 o'clock. So I said, it was on a Sunday because they missed the Saturday. I said, fine. So I started mingling with people. I started, saying jokes and, and say it's a free water, and I know you want it because it's hot. And once, it's the best water here. It's free. It comes from the mountains. You're
giving this pitch. You're joking.
No, man, and I'm telling them, I says, this turns into wine when you put it on your lips.
Oh, Lord.
And if they were loving this thing, and next thing you know, money, I'll give you a water that costs you $1, you put in $5, and so on, so on. So I walked out with $700. So Christian looked at me, and she says, you the one. My hands down.
Yeah.
I says, what do you mean I'm the one? I says, you the one. You're the one that we waiting for. So listen, I'm making this commitment. I says, this is so.
What year was that?
I'm in the pantry 4 years now, about four or 5 years ago. That was after COVID.
Would you say it's ramped up a bit since you've been involved? So who was the one that got the community showing up at Sam's Club and Walmart and all this stuff? Was that you getting those connections going?
Yeah. I got it. I do have to thank a lot to Jason Bentley.
Oh, okay.
Him and his cadets.
Because he had the cadets there.
Yeah, he runs Walmart. I do any food pantry. I tell you, I don't touch. That's his territory.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I saw him the other day. He said, Eddie, you food. I said, that's all yours. I ain't touching that. I touch Sam, BJ.
Oh, okay.
That's all you because that's his.
So they do that massive collection for the pantry.
Yeah, and the turn is part of their curriculum.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
So the next food drive was, so I said, well, listen, have you guys ever gone in front of the town hall, in front of the board? You know, it's televised and it's part of the community. And I'm pretty sure if you speak to the councilmen and the councilwomen in there, the town supervisor, I'm pretty sure they're not going to say no because it's part of the community. The community elected them, so it'll be good if they come out here and start showing themselves.
100%.
So he said, well, you know, we don't. What do you mean we don't? At that time, I was already a poll worker, and I already knew a lot of the people there. And I said, no, I said you can't be afraid.
But you see, you came from the background like I did, of really networking, and that's how you get it done.
Yeah.
You got to get out there and present and be in people's faces.
Right.
You got to be out there, otherwise you can't just lay back and be polite. Sometimes you got to be a little. And you talking about taking it to another level at a town board meeting when you were talking about gifts and different things.
Yeah.
Your last presentation.
Yeah.
And somebody came up and gave you how much money right there?
That was $500. I don't. It was shocked.
That was one night.
Yeah, that was
but
one
you
night.
came back and there was how much the second night?
$5,000.
$5,000.
But people don't. You see, the passion that I have for the food pantry, I was supposed to work one day a week, couple hours. I'm there 9 days a week. The week only has 7. I'm so involved at the first Reformed church there.
Are you?
They're looking at me, and the food pantry. Since Christine took over as the director, and new volunteers started coming in, and I came in because the food pantry was run by a lot of elderly. But the food pantry is run by the consistory because it's part of the church, and they have. But we have our own. But they're the last one that make decisions. But we make our decisions.
They govern it, but you guys run it. Yeah.
And there's more energy now. So. So
I wonder why.
Yeah, so we do a lot of food drives, and the first thing that so I told them first, so let's go to the town hall. So we did the town hall, and then I said, hey, how about Sam's Club? They said, oh, we try. I said, first of all, there's 2 answers that you could get. All right, it's either a yes or no. If I get a yes, whoop-de-doo. If I get a no, I'm not satisfied. I'm gonna keep fighting until I get a yes. Let's put ourselves, we're in a jury duty pool. 11 says guilty, but I got that doubt. And the first thing you tell you, in doubt, don't live that doubt. You gotta get that doubt and make it sure that you really sure that the person is guilty.
Right.
So that's the way I work. I said, I'm gonna keep going on top of you, Brian, till Brian say, you know, Eddie, do the damn thing and just leave me alone.
You know what? And that's how you do it, because someone who's had a career in sales, you just don't ever give up. And if you believe, you don't give up.
Right.
I remember. So the end result of that, excuse me, your effort is those events that a lot of people come in and volunteer for and are there, and I've gone to several of them. But here's what's moving to me. Here's what's very moving to me. Is a couple of times that I've been there, and you've got the 2 doors, right? The enter and the exit. And so in the entrance, it's like, here, this is what we need. Here's the flyer. Here's the flyer while you're shopping. Please consider. Yada da da da. And some people come out and they okay, I bought this, or I bought this, and here you go, or here's money, and like, okay, that's great. So that's nice. That's a good thing. But what choked me up were several times people go, we had to use the food pantry. We didn't have anything. We were in a tough spot, and I want to pay back. And here, that's like an amazing thing.
I give you 3 stories. 3 stories that I go public. The last time when I went to the podium, not this time, the one before, when I got the first $500 that you have to you guys were getting young children, young kids, young adults, to start working because there were new workers,
New employees.
new employees.
Right.
And as I was talking, I was looking at them, and I saw the young kids with tears in their eye.
Did you really?
Yeah. One thing on the past 2 food drive, I'm seeing a lot of youngsters getting involved. So we're gonna open now what you call an open house to draw in these young kids to let them know what is the food pantry and what it's all about, how it works, how you so.
That's so important on many levels. I mean, can I just make
Sure.
a comment? That's so important on so many levels. First of all, community involvement. Second of all, next generation. Thirdly, if you're privileged enough to have food, becoming sensitive and understanding, right? How many families in how many towns does this food pantry serve?
We serve 13 zip codes.
13 zip codes.
Zip codes, which is
Zip codes.
okay.
And you're the only pantry that will
open
do a delivery.
Yeah, and we are the only pantry that's open 5 days a week and one double day and one late afternoon.
And so how many, that's
We
all the zip
started-
codes.
we-
How many families a week on average?
Right now, we started at 200 families a month. We are close to 400 families a month.
Or a
Yeah,
month.
So when we say like, let's see, like Friday morning, I just spoke to Nancy, and Friday morning, by 12 o'clock, they had 21 families. When you say 21 families, it's 21 families, okay? You're not counting how many members are on the family.
Family could be one person or 10.
So 3/4 of those 21 families, they were families of 5 and 6.
5 and 6.
So now we started out with 200 families, feeding 200 families a month. We're close to 400 now. And these are, want everybody to get this straight, these are residents. These are legit residents because you have to show proof to us where you live because there's a form that you have to fill out.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, no, because this is federally funded. The food is federally funded by the food bank.
Okay.
And the government wants to know, and in the
Even the contributions, that kind.
no, that don't go into that. But you gotta show us proof where you live, who lives with you, and that,
Interesting.
yeah, and you have to.
I never knew that.
Now you have to show us
Yeah.
that you were that. I mean, you could come back. You could come out of Venezuela to come here, but as long as you show us that you have your passport, because you're not going to have a driver's license, you're not going to get because you're not a citizen. You show us your passport, and you show us that this is where you live. You have a lease with the landlord. Then that's proof of address. So going back of how people give. I had a guy, the last food drive that Matt came in with a tow truck. He did that
On his own.
on his own.
He filled it up.
He filled it up
I couldn't believe that.
because he's giving back what the food pantry gave him when he was out.
Isn't that something?
Not everybody is the biggest guy in the world.
Right.
No. You could be all the way on the top and making money, but all of a sudden you make a false move, you drop.
It's done.
It's all over again.
I
Now it's
know.
up to you to pick yourself up and do what you got to do. And he made a promise because I hear their stories, and the stories are legit because I'm a good profiler. I could know.
Yeah.
And he told us the
So
stories.
when that truck rolled up, I remember that because I
Yeah.
was there. I thought that he was collecting what you had collected.
No,
at the Sam's.
that
but
was
he wouldn't and bought it.
no, that was on his own because as a
That's
matter of
amazing.
fact, I had a
That
coach
was a couple of $1,000.
$3,700.
$3,700.
Because he called me. He says I need to fill the flatbed, but if you know somebody on Sam's Club, please. I said don't worry about it. I got it. So I called Pedro, and Pedro it is one of the most amazing human being here, and Pedro is all out for the community. It's all out because by me doing that food drive there, his revenues I was going on.
Hmm.
And he said, anyway. And so I called Pedro. I said, Pedro, I need you to open Sam's Club at 7 o'clock in the morning. He said, hey, my policy is 8 o'clock. Pedro, your cash register is going to be $3,500 cash. At what time you want it, Eddie?